Hi, everybody, and welcome to the FM Channel podcast. I'm Claudio Rojas, and I'm one of the co-owners and senior recruiters at Alex Young Recruitment. Today, I am joined by Mr. Will Easton. Will, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Claudio.
No worries. How's it going? You had a busy day today, webinars and that, so you must be...
Yeah, busy, hectic, just keeping myself out of trouble, though.
Yeah, good. How did the webinar go? Well?
Despite me turning up late and the technical issues with the internet, other than that, it went really well.
Good man. Well, listen, before we get started, just for anyone who's not listened before, I've started these podcasts in a bit to interview people from the industry, in different jobs for different companies, different roles, different backgrounds, in order to hear what they do, but also how they got to where they are. In a bit to inspire other people within the industry, maybe younger generation who are just starting out in the industry, to see where they can get to, really. So could you just explain to everybody what you do and who you do it for, I guess?
Okay, of course. Yeah, so I'm a workplace and facilities management consultant, and I'm currently working for the 180 Group, and we are an independent consultancy that look at digital solutions for workplace and FM. So we do a lot of CAFAM project management and implementation in the student accommodation, in healthcare, education, and recently moved into corporate. We work across the UK, Ireland, Japan and Singapore. We've got some projects in. And we also look at other FM and workplace solutions for those clients and seeing how we can streamline things, make them more efficient, and help them manage their portfolio to the best of their abilities.
Yeah, awesome. And how long have you been doing that?
I've been with 180 for 18 months now.
Busy? All going well?
Yes, it's been a busy period. Especially this time of year with our student accommodation clients, students, as we've seen in the news, are going back to university, are getting locked in their halls of residence. So there's still that client base at the moment, and we're seeing other areas where people kind of are really looking at how they are looking after their estate and looking long-term planning, which is positive for us.
Okay, cool. And so you've been there 18 months, and what was your journey there then? Have you always worked within that kind of space, or where did you start within FM? I think most people that I speak to, and I say this every week, that most people I speak to seem to have fallen into FM, and I think it was quite amusing. Yep. But it's I wonder if at what point I'll be someone that chose to be in FM from the beginning. But go ahead, tell us.
I certainly fell into FM as well. So I started in FM, I can tell you the exact date, April the 21st, 2008. And it was exactly 1 week after I gave up smoking.
Right.
Little pop fact for you there.
That's why you remember it.
yeah, pretty much. So I never had a career plan. I left college, I went through various dead-end jobs I'm not saying these kind of jobs are dead-end, I'm saying I was a dead-end in those jobs. Working in retail and just not really having much of a direction. And then, before I knew it, I had applied for a job, and I got it working in-house FM as administrator stroke post that person, doing all the auxiliary roles within an in-house FM for a financial company.
Right.
And over a period of 6 years, I kind of, early on, I felt, I really like this. I've got something I can sink my teeth into. So I kind of got my head down, worked really hard. And they invested in me. They trained me up to do certain things. People left. Things happened, and every couple of months it was like, oh, Will, can you take on this responsibility for us now? So over the course of 6 or 7 years, I developed there, and I ended up being head of health and safety, environment, and facilities for the North portfolio, the health and safety and environmental for the entire portfolio for the country. And that's kind of where I learnt my trade. And then it wasn't a massive company. There wasn't a huge amount of opportunity, and things had changed. So I decided in 2014 to, my future was somewhere else now, and I kind of took a leap and set up a limited company and went out on my own freelancing. And I did that for 4 or 5 years, and working across local government, NHS, working for service providers, in banking, on a variety of projects as a facilities and workplace consultant, stroke interim support.
Yeah.
And they were great days, because I got to learn so much and experience so much that I wouldn't have learned in-house. Just kind of got out of that bubble, and got into a new world, and being on my own, I really had to kind of survive and kind of prove what I can do.
So did you kind of always go down the kind of troubleshooting route, kind of consultant type route?
Yes, yeah. I think
ever operational, or kind of like all round, kind of just ops, FM, running bits and pieces, or was it always like, how did you decide that was the route that you wanted?
It was a bit of a mix, especially in the early days. There was some stuff that I was picking up operational and managing things for people, but I think devising, benchmarking how something is performing, if that's the right word, or doing, and then creating solutions. Kind of that's what lit the fire in my belly, and it was like, well, company A don't know how they've got nothing. I can build this. So kind of building something from there to build on. That was, that became kind of my specialism.
So it's going service, there, put your stamp on it.
Yes.
Make your
service,
own, basically.
Service design or service improvement. I don't know what you would call it, but kind of taking something that was either broken or something that didn't exist that a client needed, and help them develop that was certainly kind of my niche. But at the same time, I was still doing operational stuff, helping them manage premises, and space management was a big thing I did when I was out on my own freelancing as well. And then after a number of happy years, a company coaxed me into to go and work for them full time on a permanent basis again, and that was within the fit out industry. So that was a new world for me. That was an eye-opening world. It was ruthless, and it gave me. But again, it was a new experience. So I looked at it as low risk, new exciting experience. Go try something new, and the reason they kind of called me in was my previous track record, and what they were trying to achieve is they needed a team to be in that consultative stage and help people create and design and manage and benchmark how their world of work sits. So that was the idea. I won't mention the company, but there was well publicized demise of that company, and 100 odd of us ended up losing our jobs through liquidation. And then shortly after, 180 or FM 180 as they were called at the time, who I've known for a number of years, kind of came knocking and said, "Look, now's the time. Come and join us, and see what we can do together." So it's been an exciting kind of journey from not knowing what the industry actually is, other than another couple of reference points I've got, but I'll save that for another day. And I've kind of experienced everything, but staying on the client side or client-sided mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I've been working for service providers, my kind of passion, like I say, is about service design. It's about user experience.
Yeah.
It's not about hard and fast sells and dropping in predefined solutions to a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's been an extremely exciting, extremely rewarding. I've met some of the people that I class as actually my best friends through the work that I've done now.
It's great.
And it's not been not everything's gone as smoothly. There has been some very troublesome projects and kind of that have been set up to fail, and there's been sleepless nights, especially when you're working for yourself and you need to pay the mortgage and put food on the table for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, I've seen so much of the industry and the fringes of this industry we sit in that it's been a fantastic education.
Yeah, excellent. And you just mentioned user experience, that you're always wanting to sort of, improve that user experience within the workplace. I know that we connected, I think, during the lockdown at some point a few months ago, and exchanged emails, and I've seen some of your content, along with conversations I've had with Mike Green about Proptech and how this technology within the property and the built environment is moving in, is kind of it's being implemented, but the FM sector isn't really embracing it just yet, maybe, or not kind of. What's your take on that? What are your opinions on that? Because obviously you're working for consultancy now. What kind of tech are you guys using that other companies aren't, maybe, or that you feel that where's it going, basically?
Where is it going?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's so many. I'm trying to think. I was going to say a buzzword. I was going to say there's so many verticals, but then I realised what it sound like when I say something like that. But there is so many things, so many considerations that we have to take here. You might have the big conglomerates that are serviced by the biggest service providers, and that's a separate beast to the SMEs, to the smaller end of the large enterprise scale.
Yeah.
Certainly that's kind of an area of interest for me, because they're companies that might not have the in-house expertise, or they might need to pool resources between them to get the services they need. And I think this is where technology can really come into play. And anything that enables a facilities or workplace professional to manage more, better, quicker, cheaper is advantageous. And it's the classic one. A lot of the companies that I've worked for before, the facilities manager is a bolt-on to somebody else's role,
right?
And they could be doing I'm trying to think of a role that they could be. I'm trying to think of an example from my head, but it could be somebody that just knows the building, that's been in the organisation for a while, and suddenly they've got to deal with all the services that go in and out of that building. They've got to deal with all maintenance issues. They've got to deal with all change requests, space requests, fit out, refurb, car parking, the whole shebang, just because they're the go-to person.
Yeah.
And that puts stress on them. There's a well-being factor. If they're not up to speed, there's a compliance factor. There's a lot of risk in doing that, but a lot of companies, that's just the way they do things, because they don't have the dedicated resource. So I think anything that technologies that give people an aspect of, so the user of the space, they give an aspect of self-service, so they can make a request. They don't have to go and necessarily grab hold of the kind of default FM. They can make a request, and that can get picked up by a third party easily and dealt with within the parameters of the contract. I think that's really key. And the larger service providers working for larger organizations, they don't have those struggles because they've got the dedicated technologies and the dedicated people to see through requests like that. So, but that's just one sector within a much larger kind of pool of different types of organisations. And I think the second thing that we need to consider at the moment is what we're living and breathing now is just an example of what's going to happen again in the future.
Yeah.
We're talking about disruption. Disruption is going to become maybe not the norm, but it's going to become more frequent. So the industry or the professionals that are working in that industry and the people that are servicing the FM and workplace world, they're really going to need to be fast responders and adapt to change really quickly. And if I'm brutally honest, that's something the FM industry is not being great at. Is the pace of change. When the FM industry gets its teeth sunk into something, it's brilliant. It's so good, and testament to all the people that are kind of operational FM. They do such a good job. But the industry is always a bit like, oh, well, what's going to happen? And they're kind of nervous and shy, and they'll look and they'll wait for it to happen, and then they'll take a lead on how to respond. And I think
why do you think that is? Why do you think the FM industry? Do you think it's industry specific, or do you think it's across most industries? People are always a bit cautious. Change. I mean, people don't really like change, do they?
No, they don't. And I mean, I couldn't say if it's industry specific or not. There's potentially other industries that are the same, but it comes from that mindset of, we've got our job to do, and also, facilities managers every year, their job gets harder and they get less money to do their job, so they can't. We take away from that knowledge worker persona, and they become bogged down in routine tasks. And again, this is where technology can play a factor. If an FM's got to spend a Monday morning responding to emails about lights and toilets, where the CFO wants to meet them and understand how, the financial impact of utilization of the office and, what's around the corner for the industry, they can't do that, and they can't become that value add and that knowledge worker. But it because it's not a money making function for department, for organizations, it's every year the pressures get harder and harder on facilities, and that forward thinking is often, well, we can't actually do that, we don't have the headspace to do that, and that's criminal. They should have the headspace to be able to contribute more, because they nobody knows the organization like the facilities manager. So when I was talking to Mike Greener, he was saying that worst case, I said, what will happen if the industry doesn't keep up or doesn't adapt? And he said, well, worst case scenario is that the IT companies, they could potentially take over, and they could start supplying the end user with the IT, the infrastructure, the kind of all the tech, and then he said that they would outsource. We would be subcontractors to them. He said, what we need to do is we need to make them subcontractors to us, basically. Would you agree with that? Yes, I would. I mean, I don't know to what extent. In fact, when I've got half a brain, because I did a facilities management degree in 2016. I graduated in 2016, and my dissertation was about this very subject.
Right. Okay.
And I think it was honestly titled "Will Technology Be the Death of the Human Facilities Manager" or something? And it came up with three scenarios, and two dystopian scenarios. One was the technology, the robots will take over, and everybody's living under the power of kind of this Battlestar Galactica world,
Skynet.
Skynet, something like that. And then the other dystopia was like, the FM carries on as normal. They're still working off the spreadsheets, and the buried
In the basement.
In the basement, yeah, carrying on doing what they're doing. But the utopia is they're harnessing the technology to, like I said earlier, to alleviate the mundane and the routine, and allow for kind of a smarter way of delivering FM, so they can be the knowledge value add to the organization. And talk to the people in power about strategy rather than tactical and operational FM, which is idyllic and utopian, which we all need. But I think that's the way it should go. If it does or not, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned that it kind of might be it might need to be the SMEs, the smaller companies that need to maybe make that change or start introducing the rise of the smaller companies, because within the larger organizations, it's kind of, to try and make change within huge beasts, service providers is massive. And it's like, well, it's a pretty big change. It's going to cost an absolute fortune. No one else is doing it, It might need to come from the smaller companies. What do you think? Do you think is that the case, do you reckon? Or,
I mean, I agree with
the large organisations that do kind of have to lead from the front.
It's a flip of the coin, really, because the large organisations have got the power and the resource and financial clout to make significant changes. It's a question of, do they want to? That's open for debate. I have no strong opinion one way or the other, in case any of them are watching. And the size they are, and the size of the organisations they're servicing, they're big ships to turn around. So it's not something that can happen. No, it's not something that's going to happen quickly. It could take a smaller organisation to kind of be a trailblazer, to put their faith in true innovation, and say we want to do things differently. Let's show people how to do things differently, and really kind of customize that solution towards their needs. Where the cynic in me would say that the service provider would create a solution but parachute that into every organisation as is. The organisation has to fit around that solution. Probably is not the best way to do things, because all organisations have their own culture and their own nuances that we need to kind of understand and empathise with before we start chopping and changing things. I also wonder whether taking things back in-house, because when I first started recruitment in 2002, there was obviously I've always recruited within kind of more the maintenance side of things, more the hard services side. And we used to kind of supply engineers and maintenance staff to hospitals, to hotels and the like. And I don't know, there's a lot of in-house roles, that's what I'm trying to say, amongst service provider roles. And then over the last, whatever it is, it's 2020, so it's 18 years, there's more service providers that are delivering all the hard services, the FM, and there are in-house roles out there. I'm not saying they're not, but I just wonder whether it's time that things go back around in-house, and FMs could make that change in terms of bringing in technology in-house, doing it themselves. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, I have no strong opinions about outsourcing or in-house either way. I think that they both got their benefits and their pitfalls. I mean, one of the pitfalls I did notice when I was working for one of the largest service providers, I won't name names, for a large financial institution. It was actually one of my favourite contracts that I did. I really enjoyed it. We were looking at space and change requests, etc., etc. But kind of being the position that I'm in and having the knowledge that I had, I couldn't kind of push past the barrier and give the end user the extra value, because there was so many, I was working for the provider, not for the client.
Yeah.
So first we'd have to talk to the client, and the client would have to talk to the end user of the space that they occupy.
Yeah.
So to me, I was kind of sat there frustrated, and I would, openly speak on meetings, kind of, we could add more.
Yeah.
It was like, oh no, we can't add more. We're here to do this contract, and this is the terms. We've got to do X, Y, and Z. It's just, and for me, who's quite a open, honest person, who's got a hint of kind of, I suppose, bleeding out liberal socialism. It's just like, we need to be sharing this knowledge with people. And it's like, well, no, they need to pay us to share this knowledge, and that was kind of that was frustrating. So I can't help feel that there's a bit of a dam put up in transferring knowledge within the industry because of the commercials behind it all. And
yeah, maybe might be right. Yeah.
I don't know. That's just me, and I'm just one person. That's my humble opinion on that matter.
Cool. So you did. You obviously got a passion for what you do. You went to do a degree in facilities management, which is great. Mm-hmm. What would your advice be to anybody that's kind of maybe just starting out in the industry? Maybe somebody, second jobber or first jobber that's found, whether they've fallen into it, whether it could be, post room, front of house, reception, or a maintenance engineer, and they've found themselves at the bottom of this kind of massive industry. What would your advice to them be on how to, maybe which route to take, or not what route to take, but I guess, what tips could you give somebody about the sector and in the industry in general, really?
Well, I think kind of in 2020 we've got, when I started in 2008, it's only 12 years. God, I've aged. But LinkedIn, it's such a powerful platform, and as we've discussed in the past, that a lot in the industry seem quite reluctant to communicate and use it for what it is. And a great example I heard the other day, and I'm sure people have heard it before, is LinkedIn is like one big digital networking event. Yeah. So you can sign up to it, you can log on, but you're the guy that stands in the corner of the room not speaking to anybody, and then wondering why they haven't got any value out of it.
Yeah.
And we live in an age where there's so much knowledge shared, so much free information. That is a tool that needs to be exploited. And if you want to work for somebody, work with somebody, want to aspire to have a certain job, surround yourself with those people.
Yeah.
Don't say, oh, that looks really nice, I'd like to do that. If you want to be a car mechanic, so surround yourself with car mechanics and really understand. If you want to be an artist, surround yourself with artists. Don't kind of sit there from afar and just think, oh, well, what kind of qualifications do I need? It's like, you're not really going to kind of know until you've immersed yourself. Don't be afraid to connect with people. I do it all the time, but I'll send them a note and say, look, I would like you to give me some money at some point, but I'm not selling you anything, but I would like to connect with you to learn about X, Y, and Z. If they don't connect, fair enough. If they come back with a personal message and say, yeah, let's have a conversation, fantastic. And now here we are talking on a
absolutely,
on a video podcast.
You've got to put yourself out there, basically.
Yeah, and I think the other amazing thing about the built environment industry, as you alluded to earlier, there is so many avenues. So many avenues. I'm the last person that anybody wants to trust with any maintenance issue, because I'm not even allowed to do the DIY at home. I'm banned.
You're off the hook, man. That's good. To be fair, so I'm useless, really.
Yeah, but I'm, and so, somebody said this to me last week on a call, and he said, I won't mention his name. He said, "Will, you like me? You don't fit in, do you?" And I'm like, well, okay, yeah, I don't fit into the traditional mindset, but the FM world can take you into new places. I love exploring technologies and things to do with the user experience and the psychological aspect of all that. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't have fallen into that in any other industry. I wouldn't have fallen into that from an IT industry, possibly. I wouldn't have fallen into it, if I'd been a professional chef or something. I do the cooking at home, so I might not do DIY. So yeah, it's so rich, it's so diverse. It can take you anywhere, and it's just a case of putting in like anything. You've got to put in the work. You've got to do the work. You've got to do the hard work to make those waves. And if you're passive, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, no, I massively agree. I think you're so right. I think within the industry, I mean, over the years, I've interviewed and met so many people at different levels, and it's amazing how many senior people that I've met within the industry that started out humble beginnings, maybe post room, or just kind of I was just in reception. I was just like, I was the porter, but then I could see. I think one kind of common trait that everybody seems to share is they want to help. They want to help make things better, or they want to help people, and just kind of. And I think that's what drives a lot of the people that I've spoken to over the years. Is kind of I want to actually make something better than it already is, or just help people, and that's where their careers have just kind of unfolded and just moved on from there, because they've always put themselves out there and said, I could do this. I've got an idea, and I think it's just about putting your hand up and saying, yeah, I can do this and make it better, or listen to me. And there are so many courses out there that you can do as well to help you within the industry, I guess, to just as a kind of stamp of approval. But I think as long as you put yourself out there, then you can follow most routes, really.
I think the qualification one's important, because there is a lot. Again, there's a lot to choose from qualification wise, and that it will range from the technical FM aspect all the way up to the social sciences and beyond. So like I say, when you immerse yourself in those worlds and those pockets, then you can really kind of pick out what really gets you, what qualifications are going to support you in that area.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely. Listen, Will, thanks very much for your time. I will leave it there.
It's been brilliant.
Yeah, cool. And listen, we'll catch up soon, and hopefully anyone listening out there will take a little bit from that, and it might inspire some people. That's the aim. If it inspires one person, then that's what it's about anyway.
We've done our job then, haven't we?
Yeah, nice.
Excellent. Okay, thanks, Claudia.
Thank you soon. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.